Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Gabon, where the military leader, General Brice Oligui Nguema, has announced his intention to run for presidency in the next month's election. General Nguema told the Gabonese people that he had decided to run in the April 12 election, addressing supporters in the capital Libreville. He declared his readiness to change the fortunes of the oil-rich country. The announcement follows months of speculation about his intentions to officially occupy the country's top seat. General Nguema had seized power back in 2023 in a coup that ended the long-standing rule of the Bongo family. He then pledged to hand over power to civilians. The United Nations says sexual violence against children is being employed as a common strategy in the ongoing conflict in Sudan. Its recent report highlights that millions of children are in jeopardy due to this alarming trend. In the shocking report, the children's agency UNICEF reveals that children as young as 1 year old have been victims of rape across 9 states in Sudan. As of early 2024, the agency reports that 221 children, including boys, have suffered this horrific fate at the hands of armed men. These alarming statistics were gathered from gender-based violence service providers operating in the region, highlighting the severe impact of the ongoing violence on the youngest and most vulnerable members of the Sudanese society. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk has delivered his global updates to the Human Rights Council, highlighting key issues, trends, and the situation in more than 30 countries. Mr. Turk says the world is going through a period of turbulence and unpredictability, and that is reflected in growing conflicts and divided societies across the globe. He says everyone has a responsibility to act through the consumption habits and social media use and the political and social engagement.
Before our eyes. Our world is going through a period of turbulence and unpredictability reflected in growing conflict and divided societies. Decades to crumble before our eyes. We cannot allow the fundamental global consensus around international norms and institutions built painstakingly over decades to crumble before our eyes. The legal frameworks designed to safeguard civilians. War is the ultimate violation of human rights. Humanitarian workers are targeted. In 2024, conflict causes chaos, but it arises from its own twisted logic. Some people, autocrats, demagogues, profiteers, benefit from that chaos, whether through divide and rule tactics, predatory business practices, or simple theft. 30% between 2023 and 2024. Conflict bleeds into all our lives, from the products we buy to the news feeds we scroll, from minerals mined in war zones to the so-called bot farms and scam centers that flourish in the most lawless corners of the world. State of constant insecurity and fear. An absence of accountability leads directly to an absence of peace. And yet, a tireless search for peace is what the world needs most. Preemptive strikes cannot replace preventive diplomacy.
A mother is currently on trial in South Africa for the disappearance of her 6-year-old daughter, Jocelyn. When the young girl went missing more than a year ago, it sent shockwaves across the country. Kelly Smith's trial began on Monday and it's to run until the 28th of March. She is accused of organizing her child's kidnapping. Smith's boyfriend, Jacqueline Apollis, and their friend Stavino Van Ryan were arrested after the little girl went missing from outside her home in Saldanha Bay near Cape Town in February last year. All three have pleaded not guilty to charges of human trafficking and kidnapping, while prosecutors are accusing the mother of having sold, delivered or exchanged the 6-year-old and lied about her disappearance. Despite a highly publicized search for the little girl Jocelyn, she's yet to be found. Her search even attracted the interest of Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie, who offered a reward of 1 million rand for her safe return. Our correspondent, Innocent Samosa, is joining us now for more on this. Hello, Innocent. Talk to us about Monday's proceedings, the start of the trial against Kelly Smith, who is accused of kidnapping her own daughter.
Indeed, colleague, a very good evening to you and our viewers around the world. It has been a busy week for many people who follow court proceedings in the country. In fact, like you rightly alluded to, the trial related to the missing 6-year-old Jocelyn Smith began yesterday with state prosecutor formally charging the accused, Jocelyn's mother, that is Kelly Smith, Jacqueline Apollis, and of course a guy by the name of Stefano Van Rijn, have been formally charged with kidnapping and human trafficking for the little girl's disappearance. The accused, of course, on Monday appeared in the Saldanha Bay Multipurpose Center, which of course has been proclaimed a high court for this particular case. So, colleague, state prosecutor Mrs. Swanepoel on Monday introduced the trial's first witness, that is Constable Yanga Gongota, who of course detailed how him and his partner responded to the complaint in Meldepos about a missing girl on the day Jocelyn disappeared. And of course, he told the court that when they entered Meldepos, Kelly and another woman flagged them. Of course, I would imagine that another woman is a friend. They flagged them down, saying that when she came from work, Jocelyn was gone. And then the state prosecutor went on to say that the state witness rather went on to say that Kelly did not seem worried, and her behavior was not that of a mother who has lost a child. And he went on to detail that the court told Kelly that when he took him to meet Apollos, this is the other friend, Kelly did not ask him about the whereabouts of Jocelyn, and was the witness said that they were concerned about, why is that she's not asking about the whereabouts of the child. In fact, instead she was asking about whether or not her friend had bought gas for the house. So that really is worrisome, because I mean the child is missing. When you see your partner, you're not asking about the child's whereabouts, you're asking about something totally different. So it does cause for concern. But we do know, colleague, that the trial does continue tomorrow. Layo?
All right, Innocent. And this is a story that has sent shockwaves across the country. I mean, it's over a year ago, and I believe it's keenly followed in South Africa. What are people saying about this? How are they reacting to the beginning of this trial?
Well, it does seem as though the mother, together with her partner and friend, that is Smith, allegedly have orchestrated this abduction for payments. And like you say, the case has really sent shockwaves. It is a high profile case, and it has stirred emotions, Layo. Of course, drawing crowds outside the courtroom, really demanding justice for Jocelyn, with allegations, of course, similar, that Smith had done something like this previously. He's been, charged. Charged that he has done something like this by the community. But the public, of course, as attention remains ongoing, the trial could really bring, a life sentence if conviction, occurred. But we do know, like you rightly put in your intro, Layo, you alluded to that they pleaded not guilty I would imagine that if that's the case, this proceedings might drag longer than anticipated, Layo.
Yes, and it's till the 28th of March, but you never know what to expect from a trial like this. And unfortunately, the little girl is yet to be found, her welfare unknown. What is the update with the police investigation in finding her?
Yeah, so there's no official statement from the police with regards to the whereabouts of the child. But what we do know now is that the investigations are still continuing, and as such, still continues. And like you rightly alluded to, Minister Gayton McKenzie has also stepped in to basically offer a hand in finding Jocelyn. But it's a really sad scene. It's a really sad situation that has cost a lot of people on social media. It has really caused a lot of debates in the country and questions around why did this mother orchestrate all of these things? If she has indeed done this, why did she do this? Because this is just an allegation that she has orchestrated this. But as soon as we hear a formal statement from the police, as soon as we hear pronouncements from the court, we will now know the reasons behind. But the motives, Layo, at this point in time, is still, details are really sketchy. I guess police are still gathering information so that they can give us answers with meat, answers that are not lacking detail in it. So like I said, the proceedings are continuing tomorrow. We'll wait to see whether or not the state prosecutor will bring another witness to come and tell us what they know about this particular case. Layo?
All right, then. Thank you so much, Innocent Musa, our correspondent there in Johannesburg. Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleague.
Well, G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting have accepted Nigeria and Egypt as permanent invitees of the G20. The leaders also acknowledged the need for evidence-based and comprehensive assessment of risks to growth and inflation, and for discussions on macroeconomic policy and cooperation while respecting country-specific circumstances.
South Africa's Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana, alongside South African Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago, briefed members of the media on the outcomes of the first G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting in Cape Town. Minister Godongwana expressed disappointment over the lack of consensus for the communique. The minister revealed that U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had confirmed his attendance but had to cancel due to last-minute commitments.
Let me just give an indication. From the USA, Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, sent a note verbal that he is coming. All of a sudden, the President of the United States called his first budget meeting, his first cabinet meeting yesterday. And therefore, Scott had, as a result, to attend the first meeting.
He also stressed that African representation remains a challenge in global discussions. Meanwhile, Sub-Governor Lesetja Kganyago addressed resolutions on managing economic uncertainty, and this is what I asked the governor. My question is around global versus local challenges. And given the diverse economic landscape across the G20 nations, how is the G20 going to ensure that the global sustainable architecture that is spoken about is able to suit and adapt to the needs of emerging markets in Africa? And I'm asking this, Governor, because access to affordable funding remains an issue. Thank you.
The international financial architecture, and there is the issue of sustainable finance. Let's start with the international financial architecture. The central to the international financial architecture had been the creation of a global financial safety net. That global financial safety net has got at its center the International Monetary Fund. The second layer of that global financial safety net is the regional financing arrangements like Shanghai and the BRICS contingency reserve arrangements.
As leaders continue to navigate these uncertainties, the Minister of Finance here in South Africa, Enoch Godongwana, says that the inclusion of Nigeria and Egypt in the G20 as permanent attendees is a step in the right direction in making sure that the voices of the African continent is indeed heard. From Cape Town, South Africa, Innocent Samos, Channels Television News.
Arab leaders have started arriving in Cairo to discuss an alternative to a plan from U.S. President Donald Trump in which the United States would assume control of war-battered Gaza and displace its Palestinian population. Well, Egypt is playing host to this conference on Gaza and will be presenting its alternative plan at the summit. On Sunday, Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry announced that the Gaza reconstruction plan has been finalized, adding that after its approval is when it will be shared with any foreign party. Mr. Shoukry also emphasized the need for all parties to fulfill their commitments under the Gaza ceasefire agreement, particularly regarding the flow of humanitarian aid. In Kenya, a court has granted police 21 days to hold 2 suspects linked to the murder of British national Campbell Scott. The 58-year-old's body was discovered in a bag on February 22, just days after he arrived in Nairobi for a conference. Authorities say Scott was last seen leaving his hotel with an unidentified man before taking a taxi to a Nairobi residential area. His body was later found in a remote location 10 kilometers from the capital. A taxi driver involved in the case remains in custody, assisting the investigators. An autopsy on Mr. Scott's body, according to officials, was inconclusive and toxicology tests are still ongoing. The court has scheduled the next hearing for March 24. The Nigerian embassy in Washington, D.C. recently celebrated the life of one of the country's warriors for democracy, Professor Humphrey Nwosu. He served in several Nigerian local and national government roles and was credited with being the architect of Option 4A, also known as the open ballot system. The memorial service in the U.S. was joined by special guests from both the Nigerian and U.S. governments. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Maria Bird has more.
The Nigerian embassy in Washington, D.C. celebrated the life of Professor Humphrey Nwosu, as many governors in Nigeria consider him to be the architect of the June 12, 1993 presidential elections, which are widely acknowledged as the freest and fairest elections in the nation's history.
When you live a life, you leave a legacy behind. He left that legacy which we are following today. And everything he did not do it in his own strength. He did it because he relied on God doing it. And that I took away from the Bible as well. That say I can do all things through Christ.
As tributes poured out toward the Nwosu family, it was often noted that his tenure as INEC chairman from 1989 to 1993 marked a watershed moment in Nigeria's democratic journey.
A reflection of what must have been if things had turned out differently, especially if the controversial decision to annul June 12, 1993 election was not done. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we gather tonight to share our stories and reflect on the remarkable legacy of Professor Humphrey Nwosu.
I think because democracy is about responsiveness to the will, the desires, and the good of the people. And therefore, that contestation, that public discussion about which way should we go.
The children of Professor Humphrey Nwosu shared their thoughts of how their father was an important person in their lives, but also what they hope his legacy will leave.
My father was my biggest role model. I can't even tell nowhere to begin. It was everything. One of the biggest things that and you probably hear it from my siblings, his grandkids, is hard work, being truthful. He has high integrity.
My grandfather was the ultimate role model, ultimate example of leadership, the ultimate example of virtue.
We will continue to honor that legacy that he left us. The children will always live by integrity, will always live by transparency, and will always live by our word, because his word was it. That's why his title is Oka Ome, which means what he says, he does. He stands by his word. So we're going to keep honoring that legacy that he left by.
Well, this celebration was an acknowledgement of the life of Professor Humphrey Nwosu. There was also a charge given to those in attendance to continue on toward the journey of democracy across the world. From Washington, Maria Bird, Channels Television News.
In a bid to curb the spread of malaria in Lagos State, Nigeria, the government has announced the launch of the Pathway to Malaria Pre-Elimination and Digitization Program, an ambitious initiative designed to accelerate malaria elimination through digital innovations, strengthen case management, and enhance public-private partnerships. This was announced by the State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, during a press briefing at Alausa Ikeja. He emphasized that the program is a crucial step towards reducing malaria prevalence to below 1%, marking a significant leap towards disease eradication in Lagos.
Lagos currently has an under 5 mortality of 59 per 1,000 live births, and will be looking to achieve an equivalent 25% reduction over the next few years. By accelerating malaria control and strengthening our health platform, Lagos State is aligning with the national and global agenda to enhance child survival and human capital development. Malaria in Lagos remains a persistent challenge. Malaria remains a significant public health issue in Lagos State due to decades of consistent programmatic work emanating out of the Ministry of Health through its partners in the public and the private sector. Lagos State has achieved a relatively low malaria prevalence of less than 3%. This, coupled with a strong political will, both at federal and at subnational, innovative infrastructural upgrades, human resource and digital interventions, presents a unique opportunity to achieve malaria pre-elimination ahead of other regions on the continent by driving our prevalence rates down from just under 3% to under 1%. Lagos is in line with recent WHO recommendations and global best practices by adopting an integrated test, treat, and track strategy. This ensures every suspected case is tested. Every confirmed case is promptly treated, and that robust surveillance tracks cases to guide appropriate public health interventions.
And finally, on the program, a Kenyan company is transforming scrap glass into exquisite art by using old techniques to produce stunning sculptures, beads, and glassware. Many believe this is an exemplifying innovation in sustainable craftsmanship.
Employing ancient glass blowing, this skilled glass blower shapes the molten glass into intricate designs, each piece showcasing their artistry and expertise. The process begins with essential raw materials, broken glass and discarded bottles, primarily sourced from construction sites and recycling centers.
I start by scooping molten glass from the furnace, then allow it to cool slightly as I shape it. This ensures that when we add color, it doesn't get oversaturated by the colors.
After sorting the glass by color and ensuring cleanliness, it is placed in a furnace that reaches temperatures nearing 1,200 degrees Celsius. Once melted, the glass takes on a rich, luscious texture reminiscent of warm honey. The pliable glass is then enhanced with artistic features. The workshop managed to utilize all broken glass pieces regardless of the size and purity to create a diverse array of items including vases, jugs, and custom-made pieces like furniture components.
We're basically trying to ensure that every waste is utilized. So one of our major sort of theme is nothing wasted, everything recycled. So even the broken pieces that we receive, we make them wind chimes from them. Any broken pieces, we can have them grinded, mixed with sand, and make something out of them. So basically nothing goes to waste.
The administrator also noted that the local community has shown significant support for the initiative, turning the workshop into a tourist attraction where visitors can engage in the glass-making process and acquire some of the stunning pieces.
It wasn't known per se, but right now we have received many local people coming in and also trying to help in the waste reduction process. It has been helpful to them, and also the fact that they can come and see something amazing done from waste. So far we've seen very many people interested in this job, and also coming and getting to see the beautiful art, as you can see.
Notably, glass constitutes 2% of Kenya's waste, and that's according to Global Recycling.
That's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.